Good evening and welcome to the December 21st Town Council meeting. If you kindly will rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The only announcements I have are upcoming meetings. Wednesday, January 10th at 6:30 p.m. is a budget meeting. Thursday, January 11th is a regular meeting at 7 p.m. Wednesday, January 17th at 6:30 is a budget meeting, and Thursday, January 18th at 6:30 is a budget meeting as well. And all of those are here in the Matthew Thornton room. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only a couple announcements myself. The new transfer station stickers for 2024 are now out. They can be obtained at the transfer station office or DPW administration office in the lower level of Town Hall. Absentee ballots for the January 23rd presidential primary are now available. And finally, if you have not received your tax bill for 2023, please call the town clerk tax collector to get a new bill reissued. Tax payments are due on December 29th, Friday, December 29th, so a week from tomorrow.
Thanks, Paul. Comments from the press or public? If you'd like to address the council? I see no one. Recognitions, resignations, items. We have nothing. We have no appointments. Our first public hearing is to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of funds in the amount of $169,943.54 with a one-time payment received in accordance with House Bill 2, which is a Block A Grant Apportionment A, and through the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation to be used towards maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of Class 4 and 5 highways pursuant to RSA 3195B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is money that we received from the state that was specific for a specific purpose. Last year, we received this money and we used it to pave Wilson Hill Road and parts of Great Stone Drive. Once again, this $169,943 will be in addition to our budget for our paving budget, and in the spring we'll be able to pave additional roads with this money and use it for this specific purpose.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Do you have any questions or discussion? Public hearings, so I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:07. And seeing no one coming forward, I'll close it at 7:08. What's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion. Move to authorize the acceptance and expenditures of funds in the amount of $169,943.54, which is a one-time payment received in accordance with House Bill 2 and through the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation to be used towards maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of Class 4 and 5 highways pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15.
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, Barbara. Motion by Andy Hunter, second by Barbara. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstained? 700.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Second public hearing is a hearing to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of funds in the amount of $166,569.49, which is a special one-time bridge payment received in accordance with House Bill 2, which is for the payment for maintenance, construction, reconstruction of municipally owned bridges, and through the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation pursuant to RSA 3195B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
So this one basically is the same. We received money last year and we set that aside to help offset the cost of the Pinenberg Route 3 bridge. That cost of that bridge is escalating with that project, with Turkey Hill and the bridge. It's escalating. It's actually we're meeting with the DOT to see if it's actually going to get moved to federal funding, because if they fund that bridge through the state bridge aid project, we'd probably wipe out their full funding for a year. So What we're gonna do is use this 166,569.49 to help with our 20% match of that Pinenberg's Bridge, and add it to last year's money, plus some of the money that we have saved. And this will help offset having to add as much money into that capital reserve for road infrastructures for that bridge project.
All right, I'll open the public hearing at 7:10, and seeing no one additional who's come in, we'll close the public hearing at 7:11. And what's the pleasure of the
Mr.
council?
Chairman, I move that we authorize and accept the expenditures of funds in the amount of $166,569.49, which is a special one-time bridge payment received in accordance with House Bill 2 and through the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Barbara. Paul, as far as bridges in town, other bridges, do we have anything on the lineup in the future?
The only one that we're really looking at is the Chamberlain Bridge.
Okay, nice.
I believe that's one of
10.
the only major bridges that we have not repaired in the last 10 to 15 years. Everything else is pretty much new. So that's what I consider one of the major bridges in town. There's culverts, there's cross culverts, things of that sort throughout town, but they're not really into the Bridge State Aid program where Chamberlain Bridge, on 2032,
I thought it was 10 years out.
the 10 years out for that bridge. Chamberlain is 10 years out, so 2032, I think. 2033 is when that bridge is slated in the Bridge Age project.
All right.
And that one's a tricky bridge because it's an historic bridge. With the stone arch and the curve and the granite, that's a tricky bridge, and that's why they pushed that one out.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 700. Legislative updates from our legislative delegation. Hi, Wendy. I'm not going to tell you because you know the rules.
Wendy Thomas, one of the state reps. We're in a lull right now. I mean, all of the bills have been filed. We're now seeing the wording for all of these bills, and it's going to be a very interesting year next year. We have 2 secession bills, and that's to have New Hampshire secede from the United States. We've got a bill that would make it legal to sell body organs in New Hampshire. And we have a bill that would make it legal to own kangaroos in New Hampshire. I'm not quite sure why that bill was filed, but somebody felt it was necessary to own a kangaroo. So it's going to be an interesting year, 2024. We start off, our first session is January 3rd. Then we meet again on the 4th. And then I think we're supposed to have another session on the 11th. So we're all getting ready. And I'm also the chair of a group that looks at public health and environmental toxins. So we're getting together all of the environmental toxin bills, which include the PFAS bills, and we're sort of, figuring out how we're going to support these bills and get the word out about them. So that's about all I have, except that I wish everybody a very happy holiday season, peace and joy and prosperity for the new year.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Nancy?
Sure, thank you. Just 2 updates. One, I did post this on social media, but I just wanted to make sure that our Merrimack first responders are aware of an opportunity that was made possible through legislation passed as part of the House budget bill this year. And it's an opportunity for, it's called the First Responders Program, and it provides tuition reimbursement for those in law enforcement, firefighting, and emergency medical services in the Granite State. And National Community College is spearheading this and has the information. You can go right to the link there. So great great opportunity for tuition and fees for one course per semester at any New Hampshire Community College for any class. So great opportunity for our first responders. The second thing I was going to say was about a piece of legislation I filed this year. It was House Bill 614, and
I apologize.
and House Bill 614 was a bill that I filed. Actually, my goal of the bill was to have Merrimack have a full epidemiological health study for our community based on the health concerns and our exposure to PFAS. That in collaboration with DHHS, they said, really, Nancy, we need to do this first. So I submitted the bill as just a kidney cancer health study, and it's a feasibility study to look at the numbers. We have a 42% higher rate of kidney cancer in Merrimack as compared to other communities of the same size. Concerned, we have, certainly residents are concerned, and now that we know PFOA does cause cancer, and that's been an issue for a long time, that we know it's been related and known to be associated with, but now we can use the word it does cause cancer, and it is known to be associated with kidney cancer. So certainly not the whole picture. There's so much more that we have to look at, but this HB 614 allocated $500,000 for funding for DHHS to enter into an agreement with a contracted provider, and they chose Dartmouth and Dartmouth College. So that was finally, we passed it, and I want to thank Representative Rung, Representative Thomas, and Representative Mooney. Representatives Rung and Thomas were co-sponsors of the bill, and Representative Mooney was, we call her the fairy godmother, who worked hard in finance to get it out of there. So we were able to eventually it passed within the budget bill. So yesterday was the hearing before Governor and Council to when DHHS was seeking approval to enter into that contract. So that all happened yesterday, and now we're finally making some headway in that. So we will certainly keep people informed about. I have got a lot of people reaching out with residents and people that have left here regarding concerns about cancer in their family and relatives that have lived here, and so we'll be following up, and there'll be more interested information forthcoming. So that's it.
Thank you, Nancy. Paul, I didn't see anything. Okay. Town manager's report.
Very brief. You're going to be hearing a lot from me in a little bit, so I'll keep this brief. Just want to wish the residents of Merrimack a Merry Christmas, happy and safe holiday season, and a Happy New Year, because our next meeting won't be until the new year. So that's all that I have on managers.
That was a great report. Thank you, Paul. No consent agenda nor old business. Under new business, we have committee appointments. The council to consider appointing two residents to serve as representatives on the Community Choice Aggregation Committee pursuant to Charter Article 4-8. We met on Monday, and then met with two candidates. We're both very good and very excited about being able to possibly participate. And then on Wednesday, I missed the meeting, but Tom and Paul joined the meeting and interviewed, and Andy was there, I'm sorry, as well, and interviewed a third candidate. Fourth candidate was having difficulty in their scheduling, was going to be on a business trip for about a month and a half, as I recall. And so I don't know, did they withdraw? Yes. And
They withdrew, but said that they would be more than happy to help out the committee in any way, shape, form necessary. They would like to still be part of providing the message if needed.
thanks, Paul. So of the three, the recommendation, and again, I missed the second meeting, was going to be to appoint Wendy Thomas as one member and Janine Notter as the second. And they, again, I didn't have that opportunity with the Janine Notter, but the first two candidates were very good. I actually worked with Karen Contos on the Town Center Committee, and so I knew her prior to that. But I don't know what the pleasure might be of the council. Nancy?
I'm just clarify, who's on the council? Andy?
Andy and myself.
Okay, Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, thank you.
So,
And these are for 2 residences,
yeah,
right, okay.
so we had voted to have 2 council members, a town representative, Paul McCallie, and 2 town representatives on the committee of 5. We figured if we got too much bigger than that, it would be difficult to come to a conclusion in any short period of time. We did talk with Wendy and Karen and also with Janine about it. We explained to them the urgency trying to get this on the ballot for this March and April time period, and trying to get the whole thing settled out. So we're talking about weekly meetings in January, along with all of our budget meetings and town council meetings and stuff like that, and all of the state legislative work that they'll be doing as well. So I know that with the recommendation of both Wendy and Janine, who are both on the state rep list, they're going to be busy people. But they both indicated that they would do their best to make sure they can make all those meetings. So I think it's an excellent choice of people that showed lots of energy in the concern about energy costs in town for the people, and helping us to look into what the contract would be. And so I urge the council to approve those people going forward. And we certainly invite Karen and Mary Beth and anybody else that's interested to participate, as it's their public meetings. They can certainly come and observe and give feedback. We're not expecting necessarily to have, a 20 people discussion, but we'd be more than happy to have people pay attention to what's going on and help us figure out things along the way.
And I'm imagining, but I don't know, you haven't set up your rules of order or what have you, but I'm imagining there'll be public participation at the end of your meetings.
Yeah, there's no reason not to
whatever
allow
one way
public
to- yeah, and so
participation.
I, as I mentioned the other Monday night, I think back to the Charter Commission, and that public input was valuable. So I don't know if it's as critical now as it will be when it moves forward, but
Yeah.
so,
The idea is to get it on the ballot for
Right.
this election. Otherwise, we have to wait another year, and nothing officially can happen until the town approves it. So it's not like we're ramming anything down anybody's throat. We're just asking for the opportunity to move forward from the town at this point, and nothing officially will happen probably till the summer, because it would take at least that long to get contracts out and get them back and bids back and things of that nature. So if we don't get started now, it'll be another year and a half before we could possibly do anything to try and lower utility rates for residences only. No commercial, not the town of Merrimack, just the residences of the town of Merrimack. And anybody that's already in a contract with a third-party provider would be opted out to begin with and would have to opt in. Everybody else, if the town approves it, would be opted in, and would have the 30-day opportunity to opt out, and could opt in and out at any billing cycle. So it looks like a great program, and I think the committee will have a good opportunity to look at it and study it further.
all right, so,
I just, and I think you
Well-
said this, Finley, before, is, that when you have to make a selection, it's one of the hardest parts of this job. Making decisions on business matters, those are the easy ones. And I think there was no wrong answer here. I mean, I
Yeah.
think any one of the interested parties would serve us well, right? And so just come down to, I had to make a hard choice, and that's where we landed. But I think it was all good candidates.
yep, thank you, Andy. I agree. Nancy?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the fact they just happened to be 4 ladies that came forward. It's great when we have interest, that although the choices are hard to make, the fact that we had 4 people come forward is a great thing. Excuse me. And I do hope that the other parties that were interested do come, and I think they have a lot to offer. So I think we'll be in good shape. So thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. What is the pleasure of the council?
Can we make the motion both at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you move that, or are you working on it?
Well, I just want to make sure you have the correct names.
Oh, they're not in there.
Right,
So-
okay, so basically, I'd like to approve the appointment of Wendy Thomas and Janine Nada to the Community Choice Aggregation Committee pursuant to Chart Article 4-8.
And I'll make a second.
Mackenzie beat you. Okay, motion by Nancy Harrington, seconded by Mackenzie. Any further discussion on the motion?
Just thank you again, as Nancy said, and I also want to thank the members of the council taking on this responsibility, knowing it's a very busy time of year,
Oh, yeah.
but it's also imperative that it be done quickly because of the timeline. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700. All right. Wendy, if you want to join me up at the mic over here?
You can get sworn in.
Yes, the ethics thing is not necessary with appointment? Wendy knows it already. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't put that in there, but it should be.
The other thing that's signed to say you've received the ethics.
Oh, I'm on the ethics committee.
Oh, it's. I guess we're good. I figured we were
She
good.
probably knows it.
Even more.
Actually, what I'd like you to do is raise your right hand, and if you'd like to
Sure.
do that, you won't have to repeat after me.
Okay.
Just do it.
I, Wendy Thomas, do solemnly swear and sincerely swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a representative member of the Community Choice Aggregation Committee according to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of of this Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God. You're
Let
welcome.
me get you. Sure. Awesome.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, next item under new business. Our manager's going to present his recommended 24-25 budget for the council. He took those books away so quickly.
Don't count on it.
So I don't know if I'm Santa Claus or Scrooge.
Probably.
A little bit of both. Or the Grinch. Um, Here we go. Great. Thank you. So good evening. Tonight I am presenting the town council with the 2024-25 budget. I want to thank all my department heads that are in the audience tonight. We worked hard to come up with a budget that we felt fairly presented the position of the town while also taking in consideration the residents of the town and the taxes. The first issue, which really doesn't get voted on in the April or March timeframe, is revenue. However, by looking at the tax rate itself, it also includes revenue, and I just want to touch on some highlights. Ambulance revenue will be going over, increased $115,000 in this budget. Charges for services is what we charge wastewater, police outside detail, the day camp, and the media fund, because we do their accounting from them in their separate funds, went up about $40,600. Electronic recycling went up $10,000. Miscellaneous is the ings and the pluses and deltas of this, so it increased about $12,681. Insurance rebates went down about $40,000. Building permits, figuring in the 24-25 timeline, will slow down a little bit and decrease about 25,000. And then other revenue, 51,800. And that other revenue really is the tax deeded properties revenue that we got from prior years that we figure hopefully will not be in tax deeding mode next year. Net increase to revenues was 69,481. We reduced fund balance by $1.5 million, and the SAFER grant reduction of $286,667. We received, believe it or not, February of 2025 will be 3 years already for the SAFER grant. So February through June is a reduction of what we'll be receiving from the federal government. We already accounted for that in some of our savings in the budget. But we have to show it as a decrease in revenue because we have to gross appropriate our monies. So some of the budget highlights: health insurance increased $765,000 in this budget. Our guaranteed maximum was 20.3%. And that's what 20.3% comes out to based on our census as of November 1st. Dental short-term unemployment and life increased about $4,000. Workers' comp, we have a guaranteed max. That went up about $19,000. General liability also have a guaranteed max of 14. Asphalt, piling, grinding, we've been pushing this off for years. This is always one of those items that is an easy, oh, we'll just push it off, push it off, push it off. Now the pile's getting so big that they have to work around, so we actually have to grind the pile. Legal, we've been holding constant for a number of years, even though the attorneys are raising their rates. So that's the increase because over the last 3 years, the attorney has raised their rates in the last 2 out of 3 years for their cost. Still, we get a bargain for some of the lawyers that we do have, and expert lawyers that we do have. Nashua Transit's another area that we need to talk about. Nashua Transit is the bus that comes to Merrimack, and they're increasing based on the number of trips that we have done in the last couple of years. They're asking for about $34,000 increase, but we'll talk about that during the budget process as well. Tipping fees, recycling, we're at $150 a ton. With the recycling markets the way they were this year, we think $150 will be pretty much the same for next year, unless there's a massive change in recycling and the market's closed again. And then the disposal cost is the contract. It's a 3% guaranteed maximum rate that we would pay on our disposal charges. So that's about $18,000.
Oh, you skipped IT budget?
Yeah, the IT budget's going up about $19,000, and in that IT budget, that is the cost for software. For my finance software is going up. Some of my other softwares are going up a little bit, but the majority of that IT budget increase is based on this finance software going up, and then just cost of fixing equipment, fixing printers, and software purchases. We have an extra election next year, and that's about $5,000, $6,000. Our electric, water, sewer, and natural gas rates are going up. Electric really is the one that's going up, and water. Sewer is, we're in the second year of a 2-year sewer rate for the town of Merrimack, and natural gas, we're in our second to last year. In December of 25, our natural gas contract will be up. So what we're really seeing is the electrical rate, it went up from 6.9 cents to 9.9 cents per kilowatt based on the contract that was sent out. Vehicle fuel, this is always, roll the dice kind of deal. It all depends on what time of year we're with and going out. We buy in bulk. We buy about 60,000 gallons of diesel in bulk, and we get it delivered throughout the year. And we buy about 50,000 gallons of unleaded, and we get that delivered out over the year. We try to do it when the rates are low. Usually rates in November, December, gas prices don't usually fall, so we try to lock in September and in August, September. And this year we locked in, and the rates fell a little bit. So it all depends on the time of year, but we're thinking $6,100 there. Telephone and maintenance is $4,600. Office equipment maintenance, $10,000. And that is office equipment maintenance. Those are some of those contracts that are in the next, phase of out of service kind of warranties, things of that sort. So we'll have to get some extended warranties, and that's where that 10,000 increase comes from. Maintenance of building and grounds, that's to keep the building and grounds of all the buildings up in operational HVAC systems, things of that sort, about $16,000 increase. These are all increases. These aren't the budgets. These are increases to the budget for the people at home. Maintenance, machinery, equipment, and vehicles, those are keeping our roads and trucks on the road. That's increasing about $10,000. Education, training, and travel, about 4,500. There's some things that fire and police want to do in training, so that increased there. And then dues is what we belong to. All our societies and groups that we belong to are going up about $10,450. Ammunition, last year, we didn't have ammunition budgeted because we were able, because of the number of openings, and I'm talking last year, 23-24 budget. We didn't budget for ammunition because we were able to buy ammunition in 22-23. So we took it out of the budget because we were able to buy in gross and get a better deal of putting 2 years together. We have to bring that back into the budget, and that's $32,500. Audit, ambulance collections going up about $13,000. Uniforms, protective gears are going up about $27,000. Once again, some of the protective gears for fire have increased significantly because of the new fabrics that they're trying to use and things of that sort. But the cost for firefighter protective gear has gone up as well as other protective gears. Welfare housing, this should be not a shock to anybody, but our welfare budget, our housing for our homeless people and things are significantly higher this year. And I asked Pat to increase the budget, and she did, about a 30% increase for $19,500. Library materials, $6,200. Snow plowing at town lots, that will be another discussion that we'll have, is increasing. Right now, we pay $30,000. We went out to that $30,000 actually doesn't get us the services that we were getting in the past. We used to have 24 hours, 7-day-a-week service. Now we only have service from 2 a.m. to 4 p.m. So to go get back to that 24-hour service in town hall, police station, fire stations, and the library and adult community center, we got a quote this year for $52,000, but we'll be talking about that when we talk in highway department's budget. And then miscellaneous is all the deltas and minuses. That's a negative $31,195 for a total of $1,105,000 for the materials that items that I talked about previously. Then we come up.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Sure.
The ammunition at the top there, for anybody that's watching at home, that's not necessarily ammunition used in active duty in
Right.
town. It's more for training.
Right.
We have to have our officers train so that they're prepared and well adjusted to their equipment.
That's right.
It costs to get the ammunition for them to do that training.
And the chief and the deputy chief will explain that to you too when we talk about it. The ammunition is when we send our guys and ladies up to our police officers up to the academy to get trained, we have to have special ammunition for them to shoot with, and that costs more money. And then so when we train here, we use this kind of the same ammunition, and it costs a little bit more money. It's a kind of a lead-free ammunition, but they're the experts on that.
Yeah.
I just know.
didn't
but yeah.
want the public to think, oh
Yeah.
my God, we're spending that kind of money on
No.
We're using that. many
firing
bullets?
guns in this town.
Yeah, no, a lot of it is training, and they have to get certified each year on their firearms. So if they get certified on firearms, and if they are able to use a rifle, they got to get certified on the rifle. They got to get certified on the machine gun. So there's a lot of ammunition. Well, the ARs that they have, for lack of a better term, they're a machine gun to me, but he's cringing back there right now.
Just let me know.
Yeah. But they
Don't roll your eyes.
yeah, no, what? Yeah. No machine guns. No machine guns.
Thank you.
The ARs, whatever they're going to shoot, they have to get qualified and certified on. So they have to practice with those items so that they can get certified. So, and we do not have machine guns. I'm sorry, I misspoke. He's cringing back there. He's ready to come up and smack me in the back of the head. It's okay. So then we get into some of our personnel costs. The New Hampshire retirement system, due to our wages going up in some of our unions, is going up $144,000. Compensated absence, that's that number where people become eligible for retirement, even though they're not going to retire. Accounting tells us that we have to take them if they're eligible and put them into a special fund, and that's that $60,000 there for compensated absences. Union wages, we have five unions in contract: NEBPA 12, IAFF, ASME 2986, and 3657. And those are the costs for those union contracts of $272,000. Overtime for fire. When the Safer Grant came in, the council said staff to 11 as long as overtime. You have the money in overtime. This is an increase in overtime, $146,000, so that staffing to 11 can happen for a full year. Once again, we can discuss that when we talk about fire and when we look at fire. And then library does their own raises. And when they presented their budget to me, there was an increase of $32,000 due to library raises and staffing wage adjustments. I'm proposing an assistant tech coordinator. That's a new position. Fully loaded is $111,000. The reason why I'm proposing this new tech position is that a lot of our new equipment, our new softwares, our radio system are all technology based. And to have two gentlemen, they're doing about 150 service calls a month. And 150 service calls is in 20 days is a lot of service calls, because some of these calls are not just, hey, I forgot my password. These are, this system's not working, that system's not working. They're working on integrating software with our current softwares. So the department really could use another person that's kind of radio oriented as well. And I'm proposing a new tech coordinator position. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'll have more backup for you when we talk in general government, because that's where that position is located. And then we know about the part-time custodian's position that I did to a full-time position. That's an increase of about $40,000 after the net savings of reducing part-time areas. Animal control officer, we're looking at, that's a part-time position. We're looking to make that a full-time position, and additional duties will be added to that position. It's just not going to be for animal control, but there's other needs in the police department, and that will help reduce some of the overtime that some of our patrol officers are, that technically really isn't related to patrolling. It's crossing guard duties. It's things of that sort. So we're looking at adding that into that one job and making a full-time position. There's some more additional responsibilities than animal control officer. EMS part-time, I reduced the number of hours in their EMS part-time due to the fact that we're really not getting part-time paramedics, part-time EMTBs, EMTAs, or Is now. So I took what we've been averaging over the last few years, and I actually made that the fire department 8107 budget more closely resemble what has been during the history, because there's always been money left over in that account. So I reduced that about $20,000. And then we talked about this earlier. We had two deputy DPW directors, one for a town engineer and one for environmental. We filled the environmental role. Dawn relooked at her department and said, I really could use a civil engineer. We have two professional engineers with stamps. If we get a civil engineer, we can train the civil engineer in the ways of Merrimack and bring them up through the chain. And that was a savings of $36,500. So what this page totals is $791,250. And then we have some other items that we're going to need to do. The master plan is $150,000. We have to do that every 10 years. Actually, we're probably almost a year late, because I think the last time was 2013. We're going to start this in 24, 25. That's a big project for the people at home. It's not we just go pull it off and dust off the one we had before. There's meetings, there's input from the residents, there's input from the planning board, there's input from town councilors, input from department heads, and it takes a while to put together. I believe last time it took almost 2 years to come out with the final verdict, because I was interim town manager when we started the process in 2011, and we didn't approve it until 2013. So it takes some time for the master plan. Exterior building repairs, that's things like the police station, the siding over there, over in the town hall east wing. there's some spalling going on off the cement, the foundation, the rebarb starting to show. So we're gonna have to look at that to make sure that that's not structural and repair that, because it doesn't look great when our residents come in and see rebarb and the cement breaking away. We have to take care of our buildings. Voting machines. This is a hot topic. I read an article that we don't know if there's going to be an approved voting machine throughout the state in the calendar year 2024. However, that doesn't mean that 2025, because this is a budget that runs through June of 2025. So voting machines, we're estimating $80,000 for new voting machines for all our polling places. We have a phase 2 beach at Wasserman Park for about $100,000. And if that, you remember we did that beach to the right of those pine trees, this would be incorporating the left-hand side of the pine trees. And the reason why we're bringing this forward is because our shoreline protection permits expire. So in order, we can either do the project now, or if we don't do the project now, then we're going to have to reapply, and there'll be an additional cost for the shoreline permits further down the road, then, because they're approved right now or until 2025. Operating office equipment, those are computers, fax machines, copiers, $21,000 increase. Solid waste office trailer, we're looking at purchasing one for $95,000. That $25,000 is in case we need to do some site work over there. And then capital reserve funds, about $302,750, an increase just to keep up with inflation on some of the items that we are borrowing through our capital reserve funds. So total is $781,350. Total general fund increase is $677,855. That's before any reductions that we have made. Some of the savings that from one year to next is that town hall sprinkler project. We had $150,000 in the budget. We gross appropriated for the paving across the street at the church parking lot of 92. Police vehicles have reduced $15,000. The update of the fuel system of $1.4 million. That was an offset of fund balance that we put in to cover that cost, but because we have to gross appropriate, there's the 1.4 million reduction. Paving budget of 325. Brine storage tank of 25,000. Street sweeping and pavement markings, a savings of 40,000, because it's really in street sweeping, because we're using less sand on the roads. So there isn't as many passes that we have to make because we're using less sand. And then the we talked about it, solid waste office trailer was about $97,000 in the budget. Those reductions equal $2,144,000 for a total general fund increase net of $533,855. Fund balance, we talked about it. When we're looking at it, to start the year, we had $10,586,458. We're planning on reducing over $1,084,500 for property reduction in this last billing cycle. And I talked about the $1.4 million capital offset for the gas pumps, for a total decrease in unreserved fund balance of $2,484,500. End of fiscal year estimated for 24 would be $8,101,958, or 7.23%. Will be just under the 4 to 8% warrant article that was passed, advisory warrant article that was passed. Moving forward, the $8,101,958, take out the same amount to reduce taxes, about $1 million, $984,500, will bring us down to $7,117,458, or 6.35%, which is, we want to be around 5 to 6%. Council at the retreat, that was where you guys wanted to be with your fund balance numbers. These are the colorful spreadsheets that the previous town manager, Cabanel, started, and really I think it breaks it out in a way easy to understand, because as you'll see, you'll see some of the numbers and be like, oh, well, that, like, for instance, highway, they're only at $5 million. Last year they were 8. They decreased X amount of money. Well, not really, because there was other things taken out. So the first column is what the total expenditure in the budget is for that department. We back out capital reserve funding. We back out other capital. Then we back out road infrastructure for, not road infrastructure, road sidewalk infrastructure for paving. And then Safer Grant. And come up with the operational budget. And then we have the self-supporting funds below that they are offset 100%. Those light blue color is offset 100% by revenues brought in for those funds. So our grand total warrant article budget is would be 39,880,055 for the warrant article for the budget. $2,800,000 would be the warrant articles for capital reserve funds, for a grand total of $42,680,055 would be, if you had those two numbers together, that would be the grand total of appropriations in the budget. Yes,
We'll be getting a copy of this PowerPoint.
yes, you'll have everything in your book and on the flash
It's already
drive.
in there. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
already in there in the flash drive.
Thank you.
Eileen told me never give you the books out because you'll look through them. See, that's why. So this is what that from here, if you remember that last column in 30,736,637, that if you look 30,736,637, this is broken out, apples to apples comparison. You'll see increases and decreases to the budget. Really, general fund operating is going up 2,143,196. Just to highlight a couple, we highlighted most of the things. Fire looks like it's going up $896,000. Remember, because I have to gross appropriate for the Safer Grant, those monies now are not being, the $286,000 is not coming out of that line item. So it looks like we're increasing their budget by 892 is because of the Safer Grant. And there's an offsetting revenue adjustment as well. So then capital reserve funds, there's the 302,750 we talked about. Computers in general government for servers, software, things of that sort. Fire ambulances are getting very expensive with the lead times and the equipment that goes in them, that they're going up. So we have to increase that by $135,000. Road infrastructure, we're increasing $105,000. And that's for bridges and some of these drainage projects that we're doing throughout town and the MS4 and other items that we are required to do. So we need to increase that $105,000. DW Highway, paving's going up. So $50,000 doesn't get you as many lane miles as it used to in that capital reserve fund. So we have to increase that to keep up with DW Highway. We try to pave that road once every 10 years, give or take, and it's coming up on that cycle again to pave the northerly portion from Chamberlain Bridge to Walgreens. That portion of road is coming up in the next few years to pave. And then there's some other ones that are new that I want to talk about a little bit. There's the athletic field one. I increased that to $10,000 from $5,000. It's not a large increase, but we need to start looking at some of these improvements to our athletic fields and have some money in that account when we do want to move with improving an athletic field. And the other one is playground equipment. Our playground equipment is getting a little bit old at some of our other parks. Norma French Playground, the Veterans Playground, they're getting a little bit old, so we have to do some replacements. And of course, we have a capital reserve for that, so we're trying to start saving for those playground replacement in future years through the capital reserve funds and the capital improvement plan. Other capital, you'll see the sprinklers we talked about, the church parking lot, negatives, pluses. It's about $1,300,000 reduction in other capital. The majority of that is that $1.4 million for the fuel system over at the highway garage. Just trying to go through, see if there's anything I missed. We put money in for mobile radios, in upgrading our mobile radio devices in the fire department. We try to budget for that every year. That's $56,000 in this budget. And then, like we talked about, the turnout gear, it goes $15,000 for the turnout gear. And I think that buys us like maybe 3 turnout gears. And we try to, every so many years, they have to get replaced, and they're on a cycle to be replaced. And it's, I think, 3 a year, and that's the $3,000 there. So. Yeah, so we go down road infrastructure, you'll see the reduction of 325,000. You'll see the Safer Grant reduction of 286,000. General fund total, the 533,855. Here's our capital reserves fund deposits in a better light. People always say, how much money do we have in capital reserve funds? Right now, we're estimating a balance of $4,127,200 in our capital reserve funds. And we're adding about $2.2 million in 24-25. So if we didn't spend anything in 24-25, it's $6.3 million. However, because of the way we used to budget, DRA came in and slapped my hands pretty good as my last year of finance director and told me I can't budget that way anymore and put those expenditures in the budget because town council are agents to expend. So that's why that estimated expenditure is out. However, we do have estimated expenditures for our capital reserve funds in 24-25. And in the general fund, it's totaling $3.9 million, almost $4 million of capital expenditures there. And we're putting in $2.2 million. So we are reducing our capital reserve funds, and we're trying to just get through some of the stuff that we need and look at and do based on MS4, DW Highway, Babuzik Brook, and what the majority is of that $3.9 million is that road infrastructure capital reserve. And we were fortunate enough to save some money in there through some of the bridge projects from years ago to be able to start spending some of that money down. But we've been spending that money down consistently now for the last 2 to 3 years. So that's why we have to increase that for those projects. And then if you look, a bucket truck in the highway to replace our bucket truck that replacing the lift in 2022 is $300,000 for that bucket truck. It's the price of, and a 6-wheel dump truck is $210,000. When I started here in 2004, 2005, I thought $85,000 for a 6-wheel dump truck was a lot of money. They're at $210,000 now. And we hear everything. It's the engines that we have. It's the emissions in the engines. If you don't get your engine in soon, especially like when we bought the fire trucks, they were talking $70,000 extra just for the different engine for emissions. So, these trucks are becoming more technically advanced with emissions, and which are a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It's a great thing that they're doing this, but the cost is going through the roof on some of these trucks. And we're trying to do our best we can, and saving through these capital reserve funds actually keeps the tax rate as steady, pretty steady. It stabilizes it. We don't get what I call the EKG tax rate. With 1 year, if we had to put another $4 million in the budget to buy all this stuff, at $50,000, it would be almost $1 extra.
Or bonding.
Or bonding
There
it.
are towns that bond for those things.
There are
right?
towns that bond for the bridges, the roads, things of that sort. Our neighbors to the north bond for roads. They had a $30 million bond to repave a lot of their roads.
And
We've
then when
been
the bond-
fortunate enough to use our money in our budget for our road paving and this capital reserve fund to rebuild some of our roads.
Right, because when the bond's being completed, paid off,
You have to
do
redo
the
them.
roads again. So,
Yeah.
And that's the interest. That's, yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, these are our self-supporting funds. You'll see there, $6,819,000 in self-supporting funds. The major self-supporting fund that we have is our wastewater treatment plant, with our wastewater treatment operating budget at $4.8 million, capital reserve of $550,000, and debt service at $431,000. Grand total for all funds is of that $42,680,055. Now, this next slide is everything summarized. Um,
Do
it's
we
the
cover our
operating,
eyes now or later?
yeah, it's the operating funds, it's capital reserve fund deposits, it's the other capital, it's the road reserve, road infrastructure. Those are that, the road, the paving of the roads, the SAFER grant, which you'll see an offsetting revenue, self-supporting funds, you'll see an offsetting revenue. Then you'll see the revenues below of general fund taxes going up about 69,000, which I talked about. There's that fund balance reduction of $1.5 million. Motor vehicle road infrastructure, that's that special RSA, that $5 for every one of our every registration, not every new registration, but every registration we get $5 for to help us in the paving of roads. That's $135,000. Total revenues come out to about $21,547,000. Overlay is 350. We try to keep that as close to 350 as possible. Veterans credits right now we're at $886,580. We're projecting no increase because we really don't know the veterans who are coming out, who's going in. So every year we just leave that a flat line. Total raised by taxes is $22,370,441, or an additional $2,289,403, which equates to a 45-cent increase on the tax rate. The tax rate is estimated to be $4.50 from $4.05. I want to also say this. This year, I did not add anything to town value in the budget. We know that there are a lot of building going on in town from last April of 23 to April of 24. We know there's going to be some increases in that value. It's very difficult right now for us to estimate what that might be. I did not want to put a number in there and then have my assessing department come back and say, no, we didn't hit the 50 million or we didn't hit the 500 million or whatever it might be. Years past, when we knew we had big projects, like we knew that Gilbert Crossings was going in and we knew where they were in their stages of their building, we added to value. I did not add anything to value. So right now, this $4.50 tax rate does not include for any of that new development going on from April 1st of 23 to April 1st of 2024. And we know there has been some increase building and some other items that have been approved. Henceforth, the Flatley commercial development of those office space that they did, that would be included in increasing the value. The two new buildings that they're putting in at Gilbert Crossing, we don't know what stage they might be in by April 1st, but we can assume there will be some new increase to value there. It's not included in here because we don't know how much of an increased value it would be. They conserve. So we're trying to stay as conservative. I'm staying as conservative as possible with this budget estimate.
I mean, are we being overly conservative? I guess that's my, aren't we able to go take a conservative estimate and say what the town value is going to be? Because at least for me, when I look at the tax rate, that's what I'm concerned with, is what are folks paying this year versus what are they going to be paying the next year. And if we say that there's no increase in town value, then at least for me, then that puts a lot of pressure to try to reduce the budget to keep it as close as it is next year, when we know there's going to be some increase in town's value.
I can tell you if my value goes up by $70 million, that's 6 cents on the tax rate.
But do we think that value is going to go up by 70 million?
I cannot give you an answer tonight. I can give you a better answer as we progress
Okay.
in the tax with everything. Because once again, this is the latest I think we've ever presented the budget to the council. With it being, around Christmas and things of that sort, and the way my contract assessor, she was here today, but she had to clear up some other issues. So when she gets in January, I can ask her to give me an estimate and we can come back. But I wanted to be as
That's fair.
conservative as possible, presenting to the council as we move along in the budget process.
Worst case scenario.
Yes,
That's fair
we will
enough.
check that out.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Okay. There are items that we do not know about just yet. We're in the second year of the state biennial budget. We don't know if there will be any downshifting or not. We'll know more during the budget process. State revenues from rooms and meals. Don't know how that's going to play out. They changed the law a couple years ago. Honestly, there's no snow. Next week is a huge week for the ski resorts. That all plays into rooms and meals. They're making snow in the mountains, but if it's not snowing in Massachusetts, people aren't thinking about going skiing. Once it snows in the south, people want to go north to go skiing. Highway block grants, another big one. That fluctuates with gas tax and the gas. Non-union raises is not in this budget. We have 3 union contracts that we're negotiating right now. Teamsters, NEBPA 112, and NEPPA 12. I know I said to you, the people, that we have them in contract. Technically, we do have them in contract for next year for a certain percentage. We have come back to the table, both us and the union, to discuss, because of the state of policing in the state of New Hampshire and the amount of vacancies that we've had over the last 2 years. We have come back to the table to try to come up with an extension to their contract to try to secure some wages for them moving forward. And that's why it's a pending item right now, because that would have to be ratified by the voters. Anything that is negotiated would be ratified by the voters. Inflation, they say it's slowing down, but I'm still seeing 3 to 5%, depending on what you know. Yeah, what did they say? I think groceries are down. However, what was it? The sale of cereals, this morning I saw the sale of cereals are down 27% or something.
After being up 50.
Yeah, after being up during COVID. However, General Mills said the price of our cereal, people aren't buying name brands, they're buying generic. And we have to start looking at our costing on our production of cereal to bring the prices back down so that people start buying cereal again. But that's just one area. And groceries, as we all know, we go to the grocery store and it's
Still dramatic.
it's still, you know,
And the downsizing, which is a different way.
I think I paid $70 and I walked out with 3 bags of groceries. And I shopped at not the ones in town. I went to another area store and it was 3 bags at $70. So yeah. So, you know, groceries are still expensive. So I don't know about inflation. And then of course we have a safety complex that we're looking at. We're still trying to secure the land for it. If we can secure the land, are we going to put that forward? And that's a discussion that the council will have to make moving forward in the budget process. And that would be a bond. This chart shows basically it's like when you were a kid and you used to shake that little, wave thing and see where it goes. So this is our school district budget is in red and it's over 70%. The blue is what portion of the municipal, which your tax bill broken out for municipality. And then the green is county. And as you can see, the green and the blue are shrinking and the red's kind of increasing. And that's on this next slide, talks about that. That we used to be at like 22% of the tax bill used to be from municipalities. Now the tax bill is at 20.8%. Or if you own a average home in Merrimack is $369,300 in value, that would be $7,183 in taxes. About $1,500 of your tax bill goes to the municipality. $400 is presented to the county. So about $1,900 of your tax bill of that $7,000 goes to the municipality and county. The rest goes to the school district, about $5,303. So that's what I have. And I'm ready to, I know it's a lot of information. I know that we're really going to get into it starting on the 10th of January with discussions with departments. What I ask the council is that if you have specific questions of an individual department, if you can get them to me beforehand, so my department managers and heads can have those answers prepared for you, so that it isn't, oh, we'll get back to you kind of thing. So if you have those there, if you're going through the budget and you see something, let me know. And we, if you have questions, let us know, and we'll answer the questions to our best of capabilities. I want to say a couple of key dates. February 9th, it's a Friday. If you're planning on providing a petition bond to the town of Merrimack, I need it by 5 o'clock on February 9th. That's the last day for petition bonds. If you're planning on presenting a petition warrant article to the town of Merrimack for the town council to consider, that's a money article. February 13th. We are a charter town. People don't understand what that means sometimes. We're a charter town, and we're a budgetary charter town, meaning that our charter has specific rules and regulations about what can be put on our ballot by the number of individual signatures by registered voters that you need. If it's a money article, you need 25 signatures. If it is anything but a money article, you need 50 signatures. And that doesn't automatically mean that it goes on the ballot. The town council has 60 days to hold a public hearing on anything that's not a money article if you have 50 signatures. So if you're planning on bringing anything forward that is not a money article or related to money, please get that to us as soon as possible so that we can get into the public hearing process, and that's 60 days. So we need that time because our budget needs to be finalized by the middle of February. I believe it is going to be February 15th this year. We're going to have to hold a special meeting because it's not a regular town council meeting to hold the public hearing on the budget. And that is when the town council will move everything forward to the warrant for deliberative session, which is the second Wednesday in March. And I don't have a calendar in front of me,
Right here.
but I believe it is
Second Wednesday,
second Wednesday. I think it's like the 13th of March.
second Wednesday is the 13th.
13th of March. That's when our deliberative session will be for the town of Merrimack municipality, is the 13th of March. And then we'll be voting on the second Tuesday of April, what is moved forward from the deliberative session.
You'll be giving us that projected schedule in
It's in the books.
January. Oh,
Yeah,
it's in the book.
It's in the books as well. I just want to bring it to
It's all there.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. Everything's in the book. Just,
You just couldn't have it.
I took it.
Yeah, you took the book
just,
away.
you just can't have it right now because I know you'd be flipping through the books to look for this stuff. No,
in the
it's in the book. You'll be getting your budget books at the conclusion of the meeting tonight. I just wanted to bring those dates forward to the public because we do get a lot of questions in my office with my staff about how many signatures do I need? Why the state says it's 25 signatures. We're a budgetary town. Our charter is budgetary. That's 25 signatures. Anything not budgetary is 50. If you want it to go directly on the ballot and you really want that, you need over 500 signatures of
Right.
registered voters.
I was going to try, I mean, the 50, if the council agrees with it, the council can move it forward to the ballot
After a public hearing.
after, right. But the 50 signatures only works to get it on the ballot if you have that, majority of the council support. If you
Right.
don't, you do need.
You need 500 signatures. Council doesn't have to do anything. It goes right to the ballot. So
Council
500
can't do
signatures.
anything.
And that is all
goes
in
to
our
the ballot.
charter. It's spelled out in Charter, Chapter 10, A, B, and C.
And there's repeal as well, but that's
Yes.
1,250.
Yes, that is additional. So it's all spelt out in A, B, and C of Chapter 10. So that is all that I have for our presentation. Like I said, I didn't know if I'm Scrooge or Santa or the Grinch, but
I can be in denial for a couple of weeks.
yes. But I do want to say that this 45 cents was not taken lightly by the department heads or myself. We really went through it and we looked at our budgets and we tried to present the budget to the town council based on town council policies that have been talked about in the public. So we brought those forward, that all the policies, not just in the public, but any policy town council has, we try to present the budget based on that. So, and I know that there's gonna be some nice discussions when we do go over some departments. Budget hearings start at 6:30, a little bit earlier than the normal meeting. Usually, they start at 6, but I think we're gonna move those to 6:30 make sure one of our counselors can definitely get here by then. So I think 6:30 will give us ample time for that.
That's what was in the announcement, was 6:30.
6:30, good.
All right, that's exciting.
Oh, is that what it is?
Gosh,
It's exciting.
killing me.
No, me neither.
Anyhow, does anybody have any questions or?
The only
Comments
thing
for
I
Paul?
would add, and I've said it before, and I'll just say it one more time, is that when we deliberate the budget, if there are possibilities of cuts, there also has to be a discussion of how that's going to affect the services. Okay? I mean, from our end, as well as from if there are projected cuts, then those supervisors would need to know, because they would need to know to tell us how that would affect the services. So I think we need to keep that in mind.
But likewise, I don't know too many people that haven't had to redo and rethink their own personal budgets in their households. So a lot of people are cutting out different things, whether it's eating out, going to the movies or a theater or whatever. So we have to take that in mind as well, is that we need to make sure that the budget that we do put forward is as, yes, the services are there, but we may need to cut some things as well.
Exactly, but
We
it's-
can't have our own citizens making cuts and we're not looking at those ourselves as well.
And we cut a lot out. We did. The departments cut a lot out. A lot of this is, we didn't buy a lot of equipment. We didn't look at a lot of those things. We cut a lot of that stuff out of the budget. We did what we need to do. The master plan. The beach we can talk about,
Right. That's
you know? And that's a decision that needs to be done, you know? Like I said, that's a decision that we're gonna have. The reason why we're bringing it forward is because we're losing our shoreline protection, our shoreline permit. And that would be a discussion with the council
That's right.
that we'll need to have. The voting machines is another one. You know, as we get further on in the budget process, hopefully we'll get more information from the state about where they stand with a vendor for these voting machines, and we might be able to push that out. The other thing that I look at is that right now, we are gonna have a surplus of appropriations. I'm looking at our revenues. Is there some stuff that we can buy this year that's in the budget that we can buy this year? And we'll look at that as well. However, I don't know what the winter's gonna bring. So by the time we get to February, I'll have a pretty good idea of what January looks like and what February is looking like for the winter, and where we stand with some personnel, and where we stand with some other costs. And there might be things that we look at purchasing this year instead of next year that are needed. You know, we're budgeting, the budget cycle is an 18-month budget cycle, because we're budgeting out to June of 2025. We do not budget some of all our like life insurance, dental insurance. It isn't a plus. You know, some communities say, oh, it's going up 5%. So last year was in the budget for $300,000. We're going to put $15,000 on it at $315,000. The town of Merrimack does not budget like that. We go through and look at what our census is and what they're going to charge us next year on our guaranteed maxes, and that's how we budget. We just don't say, oh, we spent $1 million last year in health insurance, we're going to spend $1.2 million this year. We actually look at our census, and we budget zero budget. We start at zero for our benefits and move it up to scale. We just don't keep on adding to the numbers that are there like some communities do. So we're as close to zero-based budgeting as possible every year when we start this.
You know what, as you were going through, what struck me was you were talking about the price increase for, what was it, a six-wheel?
Mhm.
Is that, well, like a deuce and a half, 2.5 ton truck?
It's a-
Anyways.
It's a big truck. It's one of our six-wheel plow trucks.
So I would be interested to know when we discuss those, is that the truck that will do the job versus is there a slightly cheaper truck that will also do the job?
Yeah, we can talk when we go over highway. You can talk to the operations manager about that. And
I
you
mean,
know,
a
but
fire
those-
truck is a fire truck is a
Right.
fire truck. You can't really substitute much, but
those six-wheel dump trucks are the big trucks with the wing plows that plow most of our major roads in town. And a couple years ago, when we went with the highway garage, we extended the useful life on some of those trucks.
Right.
So they used to be replaced every 10 years. Now we're trying to get into a 12-year cycle, but some of the older trucks still need to be replaced so we can start getting into that 12-year cycle because they're inside in the winter versus being outside in the elements.
right.
Excuse me. But yeah, all those questions are great questions, and the departments will be able to answer those questions a heck of a lot better than I will. With can we do something with a truck? But if you do have those kind of questions, like I said, let us have them in advance so we can prepare answers for you and let you know. For instance, we talked about paving a parking lot, plowing of the parking lots. Is there a piece of equipment that we can get cheap, not cheap, but cheap, less expensive, not cheap, but less expensive, that will do the same job as a private contractor at $52,000? Because we do have staff, we have custodian staff, and paying the overtime versus paying them. What is the break even points now that we look at, and that's some of the stuff that we have discussed and we will be looking at. So, so those are the things that we do look at, and we'll be talking about and bringing those things forward as well when we talk about this stuff. So, but like I said, if you have any questions, please. And once again, I want to thank the department heads because I couldn't have done this budget without them. They were really, there's no fluff in this budget, and they didn't really ask for a lot of things that, oh, let me put this in there so he can cut it so he feels like he cut something. No, there was some conversations that we had, and it's like, you want to have XYZ, where you got to find the savings someplace else in your budget. And really, if they wanted that XYZ badly enough, they found the savings someplace else in their budget. So,
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you having to sit through this evening. Thank you for
they
being here.
love being here with me, especially 3 days before Christmas.
Oh, they just love being here.
So, all right, are we all set?
All set.
Thank you, guys. All right, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, the last thing, well, next item on the agenda, December 7th minutes.
As I look from side to side.
I don't have anything.
Would you like to make a?
I move the minutes of December 7th, 2023 as presented.
I'll make a second.
Motion by Tom, second by Mackenzie. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed or abstained, 7-0-0. Comments from the press? No one's here. Nobody from the public. Comments from the council? Barbara?
I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish all of our citizens of Merrimack a very happy Christmas, very happy New Year. Hanukkah is just ending, so I hope you had a happy Hanukkah and stay safe while you're celebrating. Also, for those of our citizens who may be alone or you don't have anyone to celebrate with on Christmas Day, and you'd like to, the VFW is holding its annual Christmas dinner, which is being held by the auxiliary. It starts about 1 o'clock, and I know I saw a flyer on it today. So if you go to the VFW Facebook page, you can see the flyer there and double check the time. And all guests are welcome.
Nice.
Very nice.
You've said it for all of us, apparently.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
we all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What she
Happy
said.
holidays.
All right.
Motion to adjourn, I wonder?
So moved.
Motion by Barbara,
Second?
seconded by Tom. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 700. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
You too.
Quick, get out.